XRP makes their first appearance at a Senate hearing, and it is going to be a barn burner. We are going to talk about it today and break it down for you. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into the show. I do want to get started. I want to thank our sponsor, and that's Uphold. This is where you guys can go out there and stake some of your cryptos. And guess what? You can get some of the top yields out there, including up to 15% on Cosmos, 12% on Solana, Casper, Injective, etc. All you have to do is jump over to Uphold using our link, get some special offers over there. So check it out, uphold.com to get started. All right, so let's lead off with our friend, Mr. Brad Garlinghouse, addressing Senate for the first time. Take a look.
My name is Brad Garlinghouse. I'm the CEO of Ripple. We work every day with banks that rely on our technology to deliver real results in the global economy. Ripple leverages the XRP ledger, a decentralized, battle-tested, open-source blockchain, as well as its native digital asset, XRP, to facilitate payments. XRP is built to enable fast, low-cost, and highly scalable transactions.
Elizabeth Warren, of course, comes in and says, wait a minute, I have a new charter here. Listen to this one.
Under the House bill, a publicly traded company like Meta or Tesla could simply decide to put its stock on the blockchain and poof, that is a serious problem for our country.
All right, so she's going after tokenized stocks. This is something that has been on her, I think, agenda in general. Remember, Elizabeth Warren, the head of the anti-crypto army. She continues to, I think, recruit other people to help kind of champion this whole situation. And this is kind of where it gets a little sideways on her for the first time, I think. Take a look.
According to Chainalysis, North Korean hackers stole a record $1.3 billion. Terrorist organizations demonstrated increased sophistication in their use of cryptocurrency. Again, according to Chainalysis,
the power of our technology, combined with the authorities of law enforcement, have proven to be a more effective disruptor of illicit activity than anything seen before in traditional finance. Seizing funds from Hezbollah and Hamas, dismantling the largest child abuse material websites, and tackling the latest pig butchering campaigns. The illicit activity that we estimate at Chainalysis is less than 1% of the overall activity that occurs on these blockchains, which is equivalent to what we see in traditional markets, and in fact, oftentimes less than what we see in traditional markets.
An apology, I'm going to be bouncing in and out, and so I'm going to have to spend a lot of time over there.
All right, so Warren just got her handed to her by Chainalysis, and that's called a fact check. Pretty much happened here. One thing, though, that is occurring in this hearing, and that is a setup that appears to be Gensler 2.0. And you guys will remember Timothy Massad. We've had him on some of the clips before, but take a look at this clip.
You know, many of us are familiar with the movie Groundhog Day, in which Bill Murray is condemned to repeat the same day over and over. Suggests that we're in a similar time loop when it comes to achieving clarity. And whether it's Lummis-Gillibrand, Fit 21, or the Clarity Act, they all have similar flaws. None will achieve the clarity or the sensible regulation that we need, and each would undermine existing regulation. Court cases that seek to interpret the Howey test has also not been sufficient. It was a whack-a-mole strategy.
All right, so that, of course, is Stuart Alderody right there. I think he's getting a little PTSD with Gensler up there most of the time, fudding the blockchain industry, which, of course, has really started to wade through a lot of that with a lot more positive movements. And this goes a little bit further around where this strategy is coming from. And I think it still is centered around Elizabeth Warren. So listen to what they had to say here.
And I thank Ranking Member Warren for inviting me to testify today. Urge this committee and the House and the Senate to very carefully look at this bill. We cannot repeat the mistakes of the past. The banks collapsed in 1930. Fast forward to the 1990s. We do not want to make that mistake again. Listen to Chairman Massad. Please do not make the same mistake that this Congress has made so many times before. We've watched this movie before, and it ends in a disaster. Please do not repeat that mistake. We don't want to watch this movie again, and we do not want to watch a movie that is a combination of West Wing or The House of Cards and The Big Short. Please. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
I gotta love let that one just kind of stand on its own. Just let it ruminate. It's kind of like a fine wine. You know, the stupidity level that we see now in the Senate, I think, is getting to peak level. But this goes a little bit further because I think now it gets into eating their own. Take a look at this clip.
Mr. Painter, as usual, if you follow him on social media, you know, very helpful.
Now, Senator, you need to focus
here's what
on
I'm
this
looking
bill.
right now.
You're doing this again. You did it the
you
last
published-
hearing. You need to focus on this bill instead of trying to distort my Twitter. You are distorting what I said, just like you did in the last hearing. This is not middle school. You're wasting everybody's time, Senator.
You're a whack job.
Senator,
You are a
wasting.
Well, I think we are.
next level whack job.
I think we are.
Is this middle school, Senator?
Frankly, it looks like what we got as a result looks like somebody knocked over a urine sample.
The personal attacks that I've experienced today, some dignity from this Senate.
Okay, so you were President Bush's chief ethics counsel.
Okay, so we just revealed President Bush's chief ethics counsel. Obviously, Senate is going head to head. Remember, guys, this is the highest level in the land of our government officials. Such a beautiful job I'm seeing out there. Now, this is where we go a little bit further into the potential of where XRP gets another chance to really kind of go head to head with all of the problems it had with the SEC, and it starts to get into something that I think you guys will like. Take a look.
So no, but you just said that what we should do is have the CFTC and the SEC work together.
Yes.
Why didn't you do that? You're saying you solved all these problems when you were at the CFTC with the SEC.
No.
Okay, so you didn't solve all the problems. So you want us to have the SEC and the CFTC work together. Is a baseball card a security?
No.
What's the difference between a baseball card and a meme coin?
Sir,
No, just what's the difference? How would you explain it to me technically? Is it the government's role to prevent me from paying $5 million for a 1952 Mickey Mantle?
I think people should be allowed to invest in whatever they want to invest in, sir.
So then does that mean meme coins as well?
I think we should have an investor protection framework over this,
Are you saying yes? It's just simple. So
But
are you
I
saying
think
yes
you-
or no?
I think you
Simple.
might appreciate that it's a more complicated issue than that. At least I would hope you
should
do.
it's not complicated. Should the SEC or the CFTC regulate meme coins? It's
The
a
SEC
yes
has
or no.
already said it won't, and that's fine with me.
Okay.
But I'm happy to create a category that's neither a security or a commodity.
Should we include baseball cards in that as well?
No, I don't think we're
Why not?
talking about baseball
So-
cards here, sir.
What's the difference?
Because we're talking about a particular technology of tokenization
No,
and
because
blockchains. That's the focus of
Mr. Massad and I disagree is that depending upon an SEC and CFTC to work together assumes good faith appointed officials in doing that. Under Chairman Gensler, they took actually contradictory positions in different court cases, which actually created more confusion. You had judges, federal judges saying that they were not following a, quote, faithful allegiance to the law.
And I think those are unintended consequences for everyone.
All right, so you can kind of see they still are struggling with this narrative that has been really on the side of the anti-crypto army. I think this is starting to break down in front of Congress, and it may be in the right time too, because when you look at what's happening in Congress, you also have to look at what's happening in Wall Street. This is a big news this day, and that is BNY is now selected to serve as the primary reserve custodian of Ripple's enterprise-grade stablecoin, RLUSD. We've talked about this. We also broke this. But this means something big because we're talking about a company that's over 240 years old, and that is the old guard of what's going on in Wall Street, now starting to make their way into the new guard of what will be digital assets. I want to go further into this because this is Brad Garlinghouse talking about the partnership. Take a look.
Brad Garlinghouse, wow, that's a nice shot, Brad. It suits you well. You're looking very even presidential almost. Welcome. You need a custodian for your stablecoin. Why BNY?
BNY Mellon has, for a very long time been amongst the most trusted partners out there for as a custody bank. We joined the market kind of late, partly because we were using stablecoins in our payment flows for our institutional customers. We use stablecoins, we use XRP where it makes sense. We have over 60 global licenses to participate in these markets.
You still want a banking license, right? Even though you have this deal with BNY.
Well, yes, is the short answer, as well as a Fed master account. For those that have said that the crypto world wants to be unregulated, whatever, the opposite is true.
Man, a Fed master account for Ripple, that would be unbelievable bullish for XRP in general. And you look at the domination in the banking sector, it is unparalleled. There is nobody that is running at the level right now that Ripple is. And even Ethereum is starting to take a look at this. Take a look.
One of the key things that we witness is like we are under-investing in some big forum where actually big enterprise and TradFi are going. And so here is a list, for instance, like Cybos is the annual SWIFT conference that happened in Germany. And it's a messaging system that power like the global finance. That conference here, this is all the bank executive. No one from Ethereum is here. Nasha is the ACH payment conference, so it's like the equivalent of like SEPA for our European friends. 86 trillion a year. Never been a presence over there. Ripple was here. The same with Sapphire. Sapphire, like the big SAP conference, all the CIO, the CTOs, all the commerce of the world, no one here. Like I showed up like just by myself and went around on the floor. All the other ecosystem, they go as a united front with a clear messaging, and they go and they invest like millions and millions of dollars. Like the slides speak for itself.
The slides do speak for itself. So one thing to consider, obviously that was a ECC, but when you look at the connection now to Ethereum already within Axelar, if you look at Axelar Scan, over 100 million in terms of volume. This is just beginning, guys. So this could be something that's really shaping up. And if you compare interoperability and what's happening right now, we could see DeFi starting to make its way in here, which means something like a Uniswap could be an area where we start to actually see XRP tokens. All the tokens that ride on the XRP ecosystem, again, getting back into a lot of liquidity starting to move on-chain here, even within Ethereum. One other thing you gotta look at is Strobe Finance, this being on a testnet right now, but already starting to pay rewards as we start to see this integration. And even now, the integration going into the number one wallet out there as far as XRP is concerned, Jamin, that may change here in the future. We could see some other wallets start to go in this direction. And I want to play a clip that will kind of explain this, because this is Strobe Finance talking about the lending market potential. Take a look.
So far, XRP Ledger has been focused more on, let's say, payment solutions. But right now, they're making a move, and there's a lot of dormant capital sitting at all those CXs. XRP's market cap is heading above $100 billion, but only a few tens of millions of dollars are actually available on XRP Ledger right now. All that money is actually available for us to do something about by taking advantage of the newly developed EVM sidechain.
So we're going to enable people to actually earn yield off their native XRP on the XRPL, which is something that currently isn't really implemented.
Yeah, that's right.
The number 3 token out there in terms of market cap, starting to open up around these kind of services. The lending beta and the contract audit all happening in Q2 right here over on Strobe Finance. Lending mainnet starting in Q3. So a lot more additional assets being supported, including RWA. So that could get interesting as well as we start to look at real world assets. Now, Coinbase kind of looked at this and said, wait a minute, we don't want that to kind of exit the centralized exchange side. So they have, of course, launched CBXRP that started to battle against this. So there is some very interesting things happening right now around the XRP ecosystem. All right, so when you take a look at the chart, this of course is on the hourly, just over the last day, obviously XRP starting to move. And I think this is something that we will see more of, and that is regular institutional capital as well as retail starting to understand this is a bigger thing than a lot of people know. All right, if you guys are not part of the Diamond Circle, make sure and get in on that. It's our own private group. You can join with the link down below. And of course, follow me out there on X, @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on The Paul Barron Show.